Welcome everyone, Sat Sri Akal. Great to have you here. Today, on the International Day Against Homophobia, Biphobia, Interphobia and Transphobia, we're proud to have such an amazing panel event for such an important movement for LGBT Sikhs everywhere. A tremendous achievement, which was recognized once again at the British Asian Film Festival just this weekend. So thanks for coming, thanks for joining us. And it's great to have you here. My name is Dharam. I'm representing Sarbat. We will go around the panel, as you can see. But before we do, I'm just going to share the trailer of Emergence with you and give a few more reflections, and then we'll start the proceedings. Just give me a second.
Something that's not part of the norm, people don't like that, because that creates some sort of hatred.
If I could say that I'm gay, like they love me now, but they're gonna hate me.
Rejection from family, society, it's a part of your day-to-day existence. They said I was embarrassing them, shaming them.
Watching my son, it was telling me something, but I was not knowledgeable enough to understand what's wrong in him. I gave birth to a son. And what he's talking about doesn't make any sense.
My dad found me in bed with another guy, and then I wasn't part of the family anymore. I just packed the essentials and then bought a train ticket and then went on my journey. I had left every single person I knew in the world.
I've seen him on the phone call his mom one time in India, and she just hung up on him. That just broke my heart.
My whole world came crashing down knowing that my parents have 2 kids and they're both gay.
I gave you birth and you have to face this?
I was so unhappy. Many times I thought of ending my life and suicide, but I didn't want to hurt my mom.
He did not know, mother know it, but I knew.
No one teaches Indian parents or South Asian parents or Sikh families about homosexuality. Where are you supposed to get your education from?
I used to believe if you pray, you can change everything.
If you had told me 10 years ago that this is how I'd be living, I would have found that very hard to believe. I do feel like times are changing. It was amazing to see other queer people of color coming together.
Falling in love, falling out of love, falling in love again, trying to experience life.
There's nothing wrong with you. You are exactly who you're supposed to be.
Gay people are people too. They need to be loved too.
I would say to my dad if I could.
So, as mentioned by kind of Harv and in our discussions, being Punjabi, Sikh and gay, how often do you hear those words together in any family home? For these 3 families, as we saw in the film, that's something that they had to come to terms with, and how they react, how their stories will definitely surprise you. My honest reflections were of the stories I was familiar with, of ideas and concepts discussed there. And I like the balance of some positive stories about acceptance and also the reality of how challenging it can be to come up against stigma, discrimination, ignorance, bullying, and abuse even. And it was really lovely to see the concept of the queer family introduced, because that would be our family for many of us. And as I mentioned, this movie was recognized by the British Asian Film Festival just this Sunday. And I'm going to share a video of Harv's acceptance speech on behalf of the whole crew. I'll just share that. Give me a few seconds.
Thank you so much. I'm accepting this award on behalf of the producer and director who are in Canada and couldn't be here. And I'd like to thank them as well for producing this wonderful story that needs to be heard 20 years ago, I was terrified of coming out as gay to my Indian parents. And now they're in a documentary telling other South Asian parents that they should love their LGBTQ children. The fear of rejection will be something people don't have to worry about any longer. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for joining in. Just for everyone's benefit, there is a Q&A section, as you can see, and you can ask the panel questions on any platform, either via Zoom, and I'm also monitoring Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, if you want to ask any questions to the panel. And we'll start by introduction. So as I can see in my screen, I'll start with Amar introducing both of you, or both of you introduce yourself, please.
Actually, I will let my mom start first, please.
Please, definitely.
सत श्री अकाल सारे English के Punjabi.
English might be better.
Okay, सत श्री अकाल to all. My name is Jaspal Sangha. I am a mother of Amar, who is producer, and both of us are also cast in the movie.
And she's a wonderful mother. You forgot to say that. And my name is Amar Sangha. A lot of people know me as Alex. I'm the founder of Share Vancouver, which is a registered charity in Vancouver, Canada, for queer South Asians and their friends. And I am the producer of this film. I'm cast in this film. And, we made this film to share the real, authentic, true stories, the lived experiences of people in our community who are suffering in silence, who are struggling. We really wanted to educate not only the parents who have the power to embrace or reject their children, we also want to give hope and inspiration to the younger generation who are coming out and still coming to terms with their sexuality and gender identity. So that was the mission of the project. And, this is what I hope to achieve.
Thank you. Let's move on to Harv this time.
Hi, my name is Harv. I am originally from Vancouver, Canada, and I live in London now. I've been here for the past 10 years, and my sister and my mom are down in that corner of my screen, and both my parents and my sister were in the documentary as well.
Excellent. Jag and Rajwant, you're next.
Hi, thanks for having us. My name is Jag, or Jagandeep. I'm a visual artist raising a beautiful family with my wife, and I'm here with my mom here today.
Hi, I'm Rajwant Nagra. I have two beautiful kids in this movie, and I love them both dearly. And I'm good mom, I think.
Great mom.
Great or good mom. I think so. Yes, I accept them as they are, and they are my sweethearts.
And I just want to say that, Rajwant, you are amazing in the film, and all of you are amazing in the film. So thank you for making the movie for us.
I second that. You're all amazing in the film. Very emotional. And now we move on to Vinay. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm Vinay Giridhar. I'm the director and editor of Emergence Out of the Shadows. I'm so happy to be here sharing the screen with you all today. Yeah.
Excellent. Since I'm comparing, I'm going to ask the first questions. There are lots of questions coming in. I'd like to ask this question to Amar. What was the impetus behind this film, and why did you pick this time for this film?
This film was a long time coming. For Share Vancouver, we've been around 15 years, and when we wanted to go into schools and talk about bullying, racism, homophobia, but there was no content. There was no content for the South Asian community, never mind the Punjabi Sikh community, and definitely there was no parents talking about these issues. And we had this young man by the name of Caden who contacted Share Vancouver. His family found out that he was gay, and he was completely disowned. and rejected by his entire family in Canada and the relatives he was living with in Surrey. He was an international student at a college in Vancouver studying computer science. He had no money for food, no money for shelter. He was completely rejected and disowned. His immigration status was in limbo. He had no money for his tuition. He was at risk of being deported. And you find out in Emergence, and as you've all seen the film, this was the impetus for the film. And then we fleshed out the story with Jag's story and my story and Harv's story, and we sort of balanced it out. I mean, the director, Vinay, was speaking with me and he said, we need to have a female perspective, the queer female perspective in this film as well, intergenerational perspective, the parents' perspective, because this is kind of like, we're trying to make a foundational educational tool. So we need to have all the aspects covered. So we tried our best within our capacity.
That's great. So we've got questions coming in. So, and anyone can answer the question. It'd be great if multiple people answer the question from their own perspective. So Suki asks that so they're very excited to be here. They're really keen to understand if the panelists experienced faith-based discrimination or have had the Sikhi thrown at them in a discriminating way. They'd like to know, as chair of trustees at the Sikh Women's Aid Group.
Can I say something on that? If I just remember when I lived in lived in Canada, I was at the Gurdwara once. We had some family event there or something like that. And I remember somebody was circulating a petition. I think it was kind of an anti-gay petition. Unfortunately, it was somebody I really like. It was a distant relative, but I really admired and respected her. And I was really disappointed to see that she was doing that. As I saw her, somebody, just a generation older than me, Gen Xer, and she was, raised in the UK. Yeah, anyway, so that was one of my experiences. I think the president of the Gurdwara, my family kind of go to in the Metro Vancouver as well. At one point, he also said something very like, "Oh, we don't believe in gay people, or we don't support gay people in Sikhi or whatever." And then later on, I think the media started hounding him, and he had to issue an apology or something like that. So those are some of my experiences. I don't know if anybody else wants to share any.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Am I unmuted? Yeah. I wanted to also touch on that when you said that about our relative. I remember being closeted at the time, and I took a paper from her and took her pens so that I could keep them so other people wouldn't sign the petition. And our other cousin, like our first cousin, was saw me with the pens, and she's like, "Don't you dare sign that." And I didn't have the guts to tell her like, "Oh, I'm trying to do a service to all of us by taking her pens." But I will say that relative of ours has grown a lot. I've talked to her about being queer. I've talked to her about our IVF journey and stuff, raising a family. So I think she has definitely, opened up a lot more. And I think she's, been educated and understands now. I don't know if you have any, yeah.
No,
Not about her specifically, but about Sikhi.
Sikhi is a I love Sikhi, but because it's nothing written in our book and nobody talk. I don't know why we don't talk about anything like that. Nobody teach us anything at all, and scared to even tell my own sisters that my kids are gay. That's how I feel, that why we scared to tell. Like, why my mom never talked to me about that, and why none of us know that things happen and this is normal. And then why we have to be so scared that our kids are a little different than others. And that's all the regret I have, that my mom never tell us or teach us, or if she knew even or not. Now she's not here, then I couldn't ask her that did she knew this these things. That's all I wanted to like tell people that it's normal, and glad that Alex is there, that we found out that more people know, and I'm glad that I met him, and he's part of my family now. Yeah, glad. That's all I wanted to say.
Auntie, thank you so much. I just want to take off on what Jag and Harv said. In 2008, I founded Share Vancouver, and it went all over CBC, the broadcasters, the news, the radio, because there wasn't many queer Sikh groups at that time. And we initially started as a queer Sikh group and not a queer South Asian group, which we are now. And then I don't know if it's this the same president that Harv is talking about. The president of the Sikh temple in Surrey that we used to go to said, in response to me creating Share Vancouver, he said, there's no such thing as gay Sikhs. So this news spread around the world, and MSN chat software was really big at that time. And all of a sudden I was being bashed and threatened by Sikhs from all over England, the United States, Australia, India, Canada, sending me horrible messages. You know, some of them saying, I'm not a Jat, I'm not a true Sikh. What did your parents do? How did your parents raise you? You're a disgrace to our community. Some people made threatening comments, and I had to report them to the police. They had to open a file. And so at that time, I talked to my mom and I said, am I doing the right thing? Am I putting you at risk? You're a single mother. What if something happens? What if we become victims? What if you become a victim of violence or something? How can I live with myself? And we went to my mom took me to the Gurdwara. We went to the Gurdwara, she prayed, and she said, God, whatever is in our plan, whatever you want us to do, we will put it in your hands. And my mom always stood by me because she felt it was her duty as a Sikh, and she can talk in a sec. It was her duty as a Sikh to not only support her child, who for no fault of his own is the way God created him. And they say, my mom says, Jidda Rab ne braya theek braya. Jidda Rab ne braya banda theek braya banda. Something like that. My Punjabi is not very good. So how can you challenge God's creation? However, I have some good news about Sikhi. About 10 years after this incident, a board member of the Khalsa Diwan Society in Vancouver, which is a Gurdwara in Vancouver, reached out to us and invited us to the Vancouver Vaisakhi parade. Now, he did this individually and it caused a lot of uproar within his board. However, it was too late. He already sent the invitation and we all decided to go. So about 25 of us were wearing Share Vancouver shirts and we marched in the Vancouver Vaisakhi parade, and we made history that day as the first South Asian queer Punjabi Sikh group to march as a contingent in the Vaisakhi parade, and that went news around the world. And then a few years after that, the same Sikh temple that said there's no such thing as gay Sikhs, a board member from that Sikh temple said, Alex Amar, we may not agree on everything, we may not understand each other, we may not been fully supportive in the past, but we want to help our community. We want to reduce HIV. We want to reduce STDs. We want to reduce depression. We want to reduce suicidal ideation. We want to reduce anxiety, isolation, loneliness. We want to help our community and support our community. Can we work together on this? And I actually did a presentation on mental health and depression and suicidal ideation on a Sunday, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, around that time, through the whole congregation in the Gurdwara, in Surrey, in the heart of the Punjabi Sikh community in Metro Vancouver. So yes, maybe when we started off, there was a lot of issues and problems, and I'm not saying there are still not problems, but there's also progressive people like in our community, like Sarbat in England, and like my mom and like Jag's parents, Rajwant, Auntie Rajwant. There are people, and the people are changing. And I'm hoping this movie that Vinay made and all of us made can help further that discussion and conversation.
I'd like Vinay to provide his reflections on his experience working on this project. We'd really like to hear from you.
Thank you for that question. it was really a privilege for me because I was working with Share Vancouver, volunteering with them, doing graphic design, video editing, all the stuff for Amar for a long time. And then I've known all these people. I've known Jag, I've known Alex, I've known Alex's mom, Jaspal, Rajwant. I've met like so many people I've gotten to know over the years, and they had wonderful stories to tell. And then when Caden came into the picture, we really wanted to tell his story, like how being gay made him an outcast in his own family and his own community. And then he was kind of kicked out of his house, out of the country, even like he was kind of stranded in a foreign country with no money. So it was an important story to tell, but it was also important to show the positive aspects of the whole thing, like how there are other people, other families who are accepting, and there's like people who are successful being gay and in their careers, in their life. So it was important to show the aspect that there can be hope and a positive outcome for their life as well. So yeah, this whole thing has been a learning experience. Everything has been truly an honor to make this film. To make it possible, and it won't be happening without Alex and Share Vancouver. So yeah, I'm really grateful as well.
Thank you.
I just want to say, Vinay, I haven't had a chance to tell you, it's just extremely well produced and a very polished film as well. So hats off to you for doing such a great job.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Excellent. So a lot of the film reflects so much about parents' unconditional love, particularly the strength of mothers. So this question is for the mothers here, all the mothers here. Could I ask what support networks the mums may have had access to or may have fostered themselves so that they felt supported or they supported others? And has it been easy? So please take it away.
According to the Sikhi, we believe in humanity and equality. And Guruji preached forever in 1430 pages of Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji that the soul is a female and the God is a male. Man and a woman or any gender or whatever, the human being is a human being. Nobody should have any question about that, and let everybody live with dignity and respect. But still, like all the other panelists talk about that, somebody in Punjabi said to my mother and me, were walking in the parking lot. They said, Auntie, ਤੇਰੀ ਕੁੜੀ ਕਮਲੀ ਆ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਮੁੰਡੇ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਭੇਜੀ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਆ ਖਬਰਾਂ ਨਿਊਜ਼ਪੇਪਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਰੋਕਣ ਦੀ ਥਾਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਹਟਾਉਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਹੈ ਪੁੱਠੇ ਕੰਮਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਤੇ ਮਾਈ ਮਮ ਸੈਡ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਭੁੱਲ ਗਏ ਆ ਕਿਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਜਸਪਾਲ ਮੇਰਾ ਬੱਚਾ ਆ ਬਾਕੀ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਜੋ ਮਰਜ਼ੀ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ ਤਾਂ ਮੇਰੀ ਜਸਪਾਲ ਕਿਉਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੀ So meaning that they were thinking that mother should not participate with anything, do not support the son. I said, lady, for your kind information, I am a well-wisher for your children. I expect to be the well-wisher for my children. Simple give and take in life. And then she apologized me for many, many times. I just laugh now and walk away. And then the grapevine take my message to everywhere, to the temple, to the hospital where I was working, to the schools where their kids goes. Everywhere my message went without doing anything else. The lady say, don't ever say anything to Jaspal. She's so quick-wit and she answers for everything. So slowly, now they are talking to me like a friend. But in between, people are like a little bit afraid of me, hesitating to introduce me to the other friends that they know Jaspal. Jaspal have a gay son or this and that. And I said, why you guys are so uptight? Just say, this is my friend Jaspal. You don't have to go through the whole history and dynasty for each individual person. I said, I'm not doing it for anybody like that. Yeah. So people are easy now.
Yeah, but my mom, in the film, people see that it was really your faith in Sikhi that got you through this.
Yeah.
Right?
Sikhi number one, number two, my mother. Yeah.
Excellent. So, Jag and Rajwant Auntie ji, your reflections on the strength of mothers.
I was nervous. I was scared that how people will take them, how my kids like will handle everything, and I was more worried about them than myself or other people. But I had a very good like friends, very good ones, and my doctor was so good. They all hugged me, they all care for me, and they said, "Listen, that's okay." Then I was crying one day to my friend. I said, "Why me? Like, why my kids?" She said, "What's wrong with other people? Why their kids are allowed allowed to be different than yours? Maybe God choose you because He know that you will handle them better than others, and you should think you are special, and that's why He chooses you." And that give me so much strength. And I say I'm very thankful that I have a very good friends here.
Can I?
And
Oh, sorry.
Okay, no. Okay, go ahead, Harv.
I was just going to say, some of the things, when we came out, I think my mom gave I was mentioning this at the short panel at the Rich Mix screening. I think my mom gave a kind of an ultimatum to her sisters when we came out, saying, my kids are both gay, and if you don't love them and support them, and your children don't support them either, you're going to lose me too. So that was a very powerful message of support. And then I think there's been multiple times where my mom has surprised me, and one of those was, I knew my mom's side of the family. We're not very close with my dad's side, so let's just put them aside. But my mom's side of the family in Metro Vancouver, we are quite close. So yes, I knew all of them knew. But then, the fact that the first like mind-blowing moment was that all our extended family were told in Metro Vancouver. And you know how South Asians are, you've got thousands of relatives and everyone knows everyone's business. So all those people knew. And, I think when you stand up for your own children, other people, like Jaspal Auntie was saying, they need to back down, because it's like, well, I'm not embarrassed by this. I support my kids. So you better like back off, right? And the even bigger thing was now, like, one of the times I went back to Vancouver to visit my mom, and I found out like all these relatives, these distant relatives in India or around the world, they have been told, and they're sending messages of support and love. And, those are people that I would never expect to ever, be exposed to. They would always think gay people are, gore or white people, right? And so the fact that these people know that they have a relative who is gay it was very surprising and mind-blowing to me that my mom did that.
And on top of that, not only that, but like everyone knows about our kids now. People send us gifts when my mom's like elderly relatives call to check in. They check in about our kids and how my wife is doing, which is wild, right? And yeah, it's like how my parents told people is how they're going to reciprocate it. If they had asked people to find a cure for us and, look what my kids are doing, fix them, that feeds into their responses as well.
But all I care that time only for my both kids. Like first reaction was like what my daughter will do, because boys are boys. He is strong. And what would my daughter do? Then I said to her, I think to both of them, if my family hate you, then why you need to call them? You are not supposed to call them on my funeral. Why we need them? If they don't love you, then why we need them? All I care about to loving them or caring for them. And I wanted to be like a like hug them forever and don't let them go anywhere. Yeah, that was my reaction then. And now too, now too, yeah. And I love their partners as well. Okay,
Thank you. So I'm going to ask you quite a wider question. I'd like everyone involved in it, especially Vinay, and it's to do with language and communication. So mainly, it's to do with the language, the Punjabi language, and how can one negotiate the multiple languages our families live with? Do any of you feel that Punjabi can be a barrier in explaining, understanding our identities, or any other Indian languages? I would like everyone's kind of inputs on this, especially Vinay, because I'm assuming you don't use Punjabi as a base language. I'm just making an assumption. It might be completely incorrect, but so yeah, something to do with language and communication, and kind of tie in with this. What are the ways in which you think we can reach the wider community of people speaking many languages who might not know about LGBT issues or where they stand now? So would anyone want to take it away?
Just before Vinay, this film is got Punjabi subtitles and Hindi subtitles coming out in the coming month or so. So that will be available to the Punjabi and Hindi community. Also, my mom was a Punjabi language teacher, and she told me one day there's no word actually for gay or homosexuality. So we were kind of confused.
I heard about men. I don't know the word about women.
What is the word for men?
It I heard one of the elderly person explained it to me one time. Usually in the Gurdwara they preach. I one-to-one base talk to that person because he want to know about me and my son. I said, tell me one thing first. Have you ever heard anything? He said, I heard from my ancestors, people, old people, they say, ki gandu di dosti, ki sandu da sak. Ek Punjabi ਚ ਇਹ ਲੱਗ ਸੀਗਾ ਇੱਕ ਹੈਗਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਖੁਸਰਾ ਤੇ ਖੁਸਰਾ ਨਾ ਕੁਛ ਲਿਆ ਤੇ ਨਾ ਕੁਛ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਕੁਛ ਐਸਾ ਜੇ ਬੋਲਦੇ ਸੀ ਕੋਈ idiomatic saying slang things. Yes.
Slingy?
Pardon?
Slingy, I think.
Oh, samlingi. Now this word is out, samlingi, same sex. Yeah, you are right. But I never heard that before either. No. So now lots of people know, but people are actually more mellow down now. The people I know, many different places, they are not like uptight now looking at you or making faces or whispering to the neighbor ear or they pinching you or they pulling your dupatta or something. No, they don't doing any more front of me. I don't know, maybe they really change or they're showing off. I don't know.
Just to on that topic of vocabulary, I know my friend Lex is in the discussion as well, and I remember him telling me when I met him 6-7 years ago that the word is nimard for homosexual man, and I had never heard that before, and that was kind of surprising to me because I was surprised there was a word for it, and I see that he's put that in the comments as well. I just on the
excuse me, the namard is impotent, but the gay is not the same.
Okay,
it is different. The meaning is different.
I see.
The gay is not attracted to anybody at all for women and just male to male, but the namard is if you go for the doctor, they can cure you with the medication and they can be able to perform.
Oh, I see. Okay, I see what you're saying. It's more like saying impotent, maybe, or something like that.
Yes.
I see.
Namard is an exact translation for that.
Yeah, I think language can get in the way a little bit. To go back to Dharam's question, which is, you know, all of us that are kind of born in the West, or Punjabi can be quite limiting. You know how to ask for, say, you know, what you want for roti and, you know, what's on TV and stuff like that. But having a complicated conversation, even with my parents, you know, we switch between Punjabi and English constantly because it's easier to express in English. So I think if your parents don't speak Hindi or Punjabi, then English, then it becomes more of a challenge to express yourself and
even though they speak a little bit of Punjabi in there, they're so expressive. And then the way they are expressing, sometimes you don't need the language to understand what they're saying. For me, when they're saying something, you can feel what they're saying inside. Even though I don't speak Punjabi, I understand a little bit. I'm from the south of India. I'm from Kerala. And then for me, Hindi is something that I have a little bit of a base in, but not Punjabi. But living in Surrey over the past 10 years, like I've learned a lot about the Sikh culture, the religion, the philosophy, the language. You learn a lot. You catch a lot of words here and there. Some your workplace, like, and then but I really think it's interesting to know that, like, there is no word for that. There is no word for homosexuals in Punjabi or something like that. A lot of time I feel, even in my own language, like the word for a homosexual is usually derogatory. Like there is no like an official word for it. So whenever they say something, it's always like a swearing or a cuss word. So this makes this makes it harder for people to accept, because I don't relate to that. I'm not like what you say in a cuss word. I'm not supposed to be demeaned in a way with language. So it's important to have like samlaingik, like Auntie said, it's a very good word. They took a little bit of Sanskrit in there, and then they kind of used the English word and then made a Sanskrit word out of it. Like some means homo, and then laingik is sexual. So they just made it together, and then I think they created a new word. But then it sounds so authentic in Sanskrit or in Indian languages that people kind of accept it as the official term for something. So I'm really interested in how languages become a barrier, or even become something that makes it a powerful tool for people to be accepted into the mainstream. Yeah.
Thank you. I would actually agree that a lot of progress is kind of being impeded because we communicate, we change language, we change concept, we change platform. And that causes some gap between, especially communicating across generations of different languages. So, but whether we like it or not, English is the most powerful tool that we have at our disposal. And Punjabi is the language that many Sikhs communicate in. So Dan had a question which has been answered by Alex, and he wanted to know that whether there'll be an option to play this back in Punjabi and Hindi. But Alex mentioned there's going to be subtitles available in the future. So another question that Lax puts is, so the event is groundbreaking and a game changer. And so glad it's being recorded and this film's come out. Does it feel like the global queer Sikh movement is gaining traction? Is there something that you feel or sense? And I'd like thoughts from anyone.
You know, I'm impressed with what Sarbat is doing. I know when I was in London studying at LSE, there was no Sikh group at that time, but I know Sarbat was founded after that, and I'm always getting your newsletters and the wonderful things you're doing all over the UK, and it's wonderful. Share Vancouver is a registered charity in Vancouver. There's other South Asian queer groups that are not Sikh specific, but also I think Chandigarh now has a pride. They have a pride, and a lot of the universities in India have pride festivities, and I know transgender people are starting to get jobs in the government, and some of them are getting elected in India. You know, of course, Section 377 in India was shot down. And I think really time is on our side. History will be on our side. And there will be more progress in terms of human rights for queer people around the world, including the Sikh community. I think the Sikh community is going to lead this movement, because in Sikhism, our gurus teach us to love everyone, not to discriminate, and especially support those people who are marginalized and weak and oppressed. It's our duty as a Sikh. And there is actually nothing in the Guru Granth Sahib that says anything bad about gay people or lesbian people or anything. So no one has a right to discriminate against us. No one has a right to say anything about us. And no one has a right to judge us. We are all God's children. And I think Sikhism, because it has that foundation and it has that sense of equality, will really kind of move forward with that. And now that emergence has been made, hopefully other Sikh filmmakers around the world can, expand and grow from that and say that, it's been done and, it's got a great reaction around the world. We're doing really well in festivals and broadcast and education. We have some streaming things lined up. So I think it is like planting a seed and watching a garden grow. I really hope that's what happens. And I think groups like Sarbat in the UK and Share Vancouver, and even the South Asian groups like Tricone in San Francisco, all these groups coming together, helping each other as a family, I really think, time is on our side, and I really think it's going to happen.
If I just jump in, I don't know about the Sikh movement, queer Sikh movement gaining momentum or not. I think it may, to Alex's point, I hope it does. It may well, but I'm quite proud and happy to see more Indians, South Asians celebrating Pride around the world, in India, around cities, Delhi, Punjab, Mumbai, and all of that kind of stuff. I think that's where I'm really excited. There's so many South Asian LGBTQ groups in the UK that I've learned about over the past 10 years living here. There's always somebody catering to some niche, whether it's culture, language, religion, interest, or whatever. When I was in India 10 years ago as well, and seeing some of the really cool stuff happening there, and that was 10 years ago. So I'm sure it's moved on more than that. As I've said in recent discussions and stuff like that, it's very common these days in Indian pop culture to have a gay storyline. Someone's kid is always gay in some film or drama or something like that. And you can dismiss that and say that's not very meaningful, but that kind of plants the normalness of the message, and it makes it seem like it's not only other people. It's something people need to discuss. So I think it's important that more media is representing us in Indian productions and stuff like that as well.
Thank you. I'd like to share some of my own personal reflections as well. I must confess that as a cultural Sikh, I see my faith primarily from a historic lens, closely tied in with the story of humanity. But I mainly see immense innovation in how Guru Nanak Dev Ji's ideas drew from society around him at that time, and especially in how he used poetry, philosophy, music to spread his message. The idea of oneness for all humans and his determination to travel and spread the word and to find divinity is what made me kind of co-found Sarbat over a decade ago. And so, as we know, Nanak's followers came to be known as Sikhs, or seekers of knowledge. And I've taken a fair bit of inspiration from that message in co-founding Sarbat and applied it to my life and everyone I've come across. So today's a fantastic day because it's another kind of milestone that Sarbat has achieved. So in fact, 10 years ago, I wouldn't have thought something like this would even happen, but it's fascinating it's happening. So by the way, we have a few more questions, and final shout out for asking more questions on Twitter, Q&A, and on Instagram. The following question is mainly to do with the filmmaking aspect of it. It's for both Vinay and Amar. How was the health and well-being managed for the cast and crew post during the making of this film?
Yeah, so I'm actually a registered clinical counselor and a registered clinical social worker, and Share Vancouver members, everyone in Share Vancouver has access to free counseling at any time, free and with no waiting list, with a master's level counselor. We also had separated the studio interviews so that people had privacy, people had time to, we interviewed people, like we gave them the time they needed to debrief and to talk to Vinay and build rapport and feel comfortable. And if they didn't feel comfortable, they could take a break and go to the other room and have time to themselves or discuss how they're feeling. I mean, we tried our best. The other thing was we cast a team of people. The cast really were people who were our friends. Vinay knew them, I knew them, Jag was my friend, you know, Harv is Jag's brother, Jag's parents were familiar with us. Of course, I'm in the film. So you have that built-in trust and that built-in understanding, and it causes less anxiety, less trauma, less worry, less stress to the people who are in the documentary, because you already have that history with that. We have over a 10-year history built with most of the people in the cast and the crew. So that mitigated a lot of the potential, you know, emotional distress or stuff that could have happened. I know for me, it was kind of distressful at first to remember all the bullying I went through as a kid, but in a way it was also therapeutic, because all this stuff came to the surface that I buried so deep inside me. And then it came to the surface and I talked about it and I got it out of my system. And it really was kind of relieving and kind of therapeutic for me to get this pain out of my system as the process of going through the documentary. And the other thing which was really fascinating for me is I always thought my mom always loved me and embraced me for being gay, and that there was never any problem as a mother and as a Sikh woman who believed in Sikhi. But then when I watched the film, I realized my mom also struggled. My mom also went through a very emotional journey coming to terms with her gay child. And that brought us closer together as a mother and a son. And I'm much more supportive for her now, because I really appreciate, she could have chose to reject me. She could have chose to disown me. But she stood up and fought. And not only did she stood up and fought for me in our community, she was easily targeted as a single mother in our community. She didn't have a husband at that time to back her up. She fought for me in the community, and she took it a step further and supported me when I said I wanted to found a queer Sikh organization, one of the first queer Sikh organizations in 2008 in the country. I'm not even sure if there's another one in Canada right now. And then she's watched it grow over the last 15 years. And so I really can't thank her enough. And I'm so grateful to everyone in the film. But so we did take a number of steps to mitigate the potential trauma in the film from my perspective, or if anyone needed support. And I think because we had the prior relationships and friendships built, that was also a major factor.
Vinay, would you like to?
Yeah, definitely. It really helped. It really helped that I knew all of these people beforehand, and then I knew kind of a little bit of their backstory, not all of it. And then sometimes I didn't even have to ask questions. Like when I was interviewing them, it just came from their heart. Like they just opened up slowly. They just because of all that years of like build trust, they kind of put their trust in me, and they poured their heart out. So I just was there to create a safe space for them to open up, and then just listen. Like I just had to listen to them, and then direct my questions so that it's not hurtful, but we get the most out of their time. And then they just opened up to me, and then it's really beautiful to watch, because you can see that there is that mental clarity that happens when somebody's speaking a long time about their experiences, and slowly it's getting clear in their mind. And then all of them I've talked to, they've said that it's been a very healing experience for them to be part of the film, and just to put their story out there, it's healing. And then to know that you don't have to hide it anymore. They were carrying this burden all this while, and then now it's out in the open. It's almost like a counseling session for them. So I'm happy how it all worked out. Yeah.
So we have a few final questions, but this question, I'm not sure who's the most suitable to respond, but I'll ask it anyway. It's from Suki again. And she mentions it's a nuts and bolts question. How well do you think the wider community are successful in supporting LGBTQ+C community members? Especially, the question is in relations to report and survey that her organization has carried out. And there are lots of respondents who say they're experiencing domestic abuse from their parents or extended family. So she's wondering that when things go wrong and our LGBT plus community are feeling isolated and need support, are they able to access support? I'm talking about the ones who are not here with us. How are they able to access support? Does anyone have reflections on that?
If I'm sure Amar will have something more professional to say, but what I would chip in quickly before that is I think there's more and more groups like Sarbat, like Share Vancouver, like GIN in the UK, Gay Indian Network, and so many others, that are available. So I hope people now, when we, maybe 15, 20 years ago, when I was coming out, the internet was barely a thing, so and iPhones were not out there. So we weren't super confident with using the internet to find community, whereas you can now. So I hope people now are able to find the resources they need and find other groups of people that they can connect with and make family that way if their own support network's not there. And that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah. And I don't know what's happening in the United Kingdom, but I can say in Metro Vancouver, the work we're doing, anyone who contacts us who's in crisis and distress because of sexuality or coming out or gender identity, we provide them with 5 to 10 sessions of free counseling immediately. No wait list with the master's level counselor, multiple offices throughout Metro Vancouver. Over 120 counselors are available. So that is provided. We have peer support groups. We have 2 peer support groups. That is one mostly for queer South Asian women and one for queer South Asian men. But then we have trans and non-binary people are welcome in either group. We also have groups where they both have activities together. So they have just started doing monthly networking, meet and greets and picnics. That is happening. They also have Zoom sessions with guest speakers and self-care, health and wellness type of activities, what they talk about. And they're very popular. The queer women's group attracts between maybe 25 to 55 women every month from across North America on their Zoom sessions. The men's is just starting to get developed. We have intake information and referral. I am now returning anywhere from 150 to a peak of 200 messages on all our platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, email, fax, telephone, coming in every month, giving them referrals to organizations around the world. We have a lot of resources on the Share Vancouver website. We have a global South Asian support resources. We listed crisis lines, support groups, educational resources, South Asian resources, queer resources. You can download it free from the Share Vancouver website. We have information for newcomers, immigrants, and refugees that are queer on there. We have a women's resource. So we are developing these resources that practicum students come into Share Vancouver. They help us develop. And some of them are actually, we even have a legal resource where if you're planning to be a queer immigrant and come to Vancouver or Canada, you can talk to queer South Asian, Punjabi, Sikh, or lawyers who speak Hindi, Punjabi, who are queer positive. We have a list of lawyers. We have information on human rights for people coming to this country who are queer. We have information on we do have actually information on safe sex, but we also have information on safe countries to travel to, because sometimes a lot of people come to this country, immigrants in Canada, they think, oh, I have my PR now, my permanent residency or my Canadian citizenship, and I can just travel anywhere now as a Canadian and everything's going to be hunky-dory and everything's going to be great. But actually, a lot of people that I've been aware of over the years, I mean, 80 to 90 countries around the world, you can be persecuted, you can be jailed, you can be killed, you know, abused if you're gay or lesbian or queer. So it's really doesn't matter what kind of passport you have. So we try to educate a lot of the people in our organization about these issues. Just go onto our website, sharevancouver.com. You know, take a look at our resources and some of our programming. There's a lot more work we do with advocacy. We have a Share Vancouver podcast, which is going global. We have 2 queer South Asian women who have a podcast. Just Google Share Vancouver podcast. You can view all the episodes online. We make movies, which is now going around the world. This is our 2nd movie. We're going to make a 3rd movie, which I can't share too much information about it unless Vinay gives me permission. I'll let Vinay talk about the film, but you know, we try our best. We try our best based on the grassroots budget that we have. We're getting more and more support from the different levels of government in Canada. We have a wonderful team of people. We have anywhere from 30 to 40 people who are part of the core operating team in Share Vancouver now. And that includes some contracted staff, practicum students, board members, volunteers, advisors, consultants. So our core team is already growing to about 30 to 40 people just for Vancouver largely. So I think we're doing quite a bit based on, you know, our limited, humble beginnings. And I think we're growing quite rapidly now.
That's fantastic. We've got quite a few questions, so we'll have to go through them fairly quickly because we're getting out of time, but I hope you don't mind spending another spare few minutes. It won't be taking too long. Lux asks a question for Auntie G's here. What would both the Auntie G's, as he puts it, would like to see happen next? So starting with Auntie G, you first.
Which one?
Oh, sorry, Rajwant Auntie G. Sorry.
Okay, sure. What would you like to see happen next? Next, I wanted to see not even one kid cry that her parents does not accept them. I don't want to see that. I want every parent to know that what is the fault of them. They done nothing wrong, and you gave them birth, and why you are the parent and why you are not accepting them. I don't want even one parent like give hard time to their own kids. I seen one show the other day, one bird go 20 miles a day to bring water in their feathers to give water to their own chicks. 20 miles a day he fly, take a risk of the alligators, everything to bring the water for their own kid. And we are humans, and why we are like giving hard time to our own kids, and why I don't want to see that. That's my, if anybody listening to me, the parent, I beg them, like love them, respect them. They need respect and love, and they maybe hurt more than us, and give them hug that they done nothing wrong. What did they do wrong? Nothing. And they are struggling. Don't give them more hard time. Yeah, please. That's what I would say to every parent who is listening and who will listen this one. Yeah.
Amar's mom, Auntie G.
I believe that when you go to the park and look at the flowers and people are admiring it and they're saying thank you to the gardener, that you've done very good job. And why not for parents and the children in between to love each other and the society to love them and accept them as they are. And I am suggesting from the deepest of my heart, please let people live with the dignity and respect and accept them the way they are. They are not harmful people. They actually I find it they are more loving and more caring and more sharing people than straight people. And I'm actually glad, I feel blessed that I have 3 sons, 2 straight and 1 gay. And the gay person is more caring to me than the others. They have so much other stuff to do. They don't even remember sometime, but mom is around, maybe she need anything. So we are happy as it is, and anybody else can be.
Excellent. I have a question for Jag, actually. Do you think having children or having a family was helpful when it came to being accepted by the wider community?
That's a good question. I think there's kind of 2 levels to it. I feel like personally for me, I stopped caring about other people's opinions when Jaya was born. You put all your energy into making this baby, and when they're born, it's like that becomes your whole entire world. I just felt very protective of them, and I didn't want to spend my time, if there's people out there who would be homophobic or whatever, like I didn't want to give them any time of day, right? When it comes to our community and relatives, I feel like often parents of queer children don't think they're ever going to become grandparents. Like that dream just goes away as soon as they find out that their kids are gay. So I feel like how can you hate a newborn baby, right? It's this new life. It's very beautiful. So I feel like having kids maybe brings a little softness to people, as homophobic as they may be, right? Holding this baby kind of changes things and puts things into perspective.
There's another question for you, Jag. So thank you for sharing your story and showing so much love. What can Punjabi or Desi gay boys do to step up and help our queer sisters?
Do you mean queer boy, like men, or?
No, so what can gay or bi men do for lesbian or queer sisters? Because there's a huge kind of aspect of like men literally dominating lots of these spaces, but
I think like men tend to, like you said, like dominate these spaces, and often there's not a lot of room for the female perspective, right? Even with I remember early on when I joined Share, there weren't that many lesbians that came out. I feel like when my wife and I started the feline group of Share Vancouver for women, we would get 2 people coming out, and then eventually we were like, we can't sustain this with a baby. But I feel like there's not enough support system for women often. They feel very alone. They feel scared to go out into these public places. They don't want to get outed and stuff. So I think just having those supports, standing up for women, and including them, not speaking for them or over them. I think giving a voice to women where they feel comfortable and empowered.
Excellent. So I think we're going to go through final questions now, because we're hitting time and we don't want to keep you too long. There's a lot of interest in what happens, what's the future of the film. What if people want to watch the film anywhere in the world they are? Where is this film going to go? And although you have alluded to it, people have asked whether there's any plan for a part 2 or a follow-up film, or to continue to explore these films. So over to you, whoever wants to answer this question.
So how about I speak last, and I'll let you all speak first, please?
Yeah. So
Vinay, go ahead.
So emergence in itself is becoming a thing now. Like it has gained its own life, and it's like flying away. So, and then hopefully the message comes across to all the people who are watching it, that it's okay to be who you are. And I don't know if there's another emergence coming out, but we want to show more representation of queer people, gay people in the mainstream media. So we might have more content on that regard. So Yeah, I don't know. Alex is the producer. Maybe he should be the one saying it. Yes. Yeah, I'm really happy. I'm more happy about the films going to the universities and the high schools, and having those screenings there and those discussions there. I think that's the most valuable assets for Emergence so far, more than any film festivals, because it creates so much awareness and discussion in those young ages when people are being formed, their opinions are being formed. That's when you need to present your case at that point, and then it kind of mold the people to a better human being. So I think high schools and the universities are the best awards we've gotten so far.
Just separately on that topic about watching the film, I believe, it's going to New York in the coming weeks, and Mumbai's Kashish Festival at the beginning of June. Isn't that correct, Alex? Amar? Yes. And I think, is there any plans for it to be available freely after the festival circuit, or, when will people in the UK, for example, be able to watch it again?
Yeah, so the film is having a double screening in Mumbai at the beginning of June. It's going to be at the Kashish Festival, where we're one of 5 films shortlisted to win the best documentary in Kashish Queer Festival there, largest Pride Festival in Mumbai. At the same time, during the same week, we are in competition at the Mumbai International Film Festival. So we're having 2 screenings in Mumbai at the same week. And then in the mid-June, we're going to San Francisco in Frameline, where we're also eligible for a documentary award there. And we're flying down. Telefilm Canada, the Canadian government arm, is funding part of our cost to send the cast and crew to San Francisco to be there and represent Canada. So we're doing these major screenings coming up. We just finished in New York. We just finished at the UK Asian Film Festival, where Harv got the Best Film Award for Championing Change. Now, we do have a number of broadcast deals in Canada. The Ontario premiere is going to be happening during Pride Month in Ontario next month for TV Ontario. In British Columbia in June during Pride in late July, I believe, July 26th, we're having the British Columbia premiere on Knowledge Network. We're having the Out TV premiere, which is a national broadcaster, gay and lesbian broadcaster in Canada, but they also have a streaming site. It'll eventually be available around the world on Out TV, on Apple TV, the Out TV channel on Apple TV, and there are other streaming sites around the world. They put my first film on Amazon Prime. My name was January, so I'm not sure if we're going to still do that with this film, but that's also a possibility, and that would really increase access to the film. The other thing that we're doing after the film festival circuit is we are just starting now, after Frameline and after the UK Asian Festival, starting to talk to broadcasters and distributors in the UK and India and in the United States. So we're all negotiating that. We just finished the Canadian market for that. So it's going to take some time, but we still have some time because we're still finishing the film festival circuit. And, but the educational circuit is really robust. If anyone wants to have a community screening or an educational screening, just email me. Just go to the Share Vancouver website, sharevancouver.com, and email me. We can arrange a community screening or a educational screening. Like for example, in Metro Vancouver, we've had almost 35, 36 screenings in colleges, universities, high schools. We have a teacher's discussion guide, which is freely downloadable and available, professionally prepared by high school social justice curriculum experts. So we're trying our best to get it out there, but we also want to make sure that we work with the right people and that, we can leverage the best people to distribute the film and broadcast the film. So we are bringing on a consulting producer to help us with that overseas market.
Thank you. So there is going to be one final question. Before that, I'm going to talk a bit about Sarbat and also get everyone involved in Sarbat. So you may know of Sarbat, but Sarbat, just to refresh everyone, is a volunteer-led group addressing LGBT+ issues from a Sikh perspective. Our vision is to create awareness, tackle homophobia, biphobia, transphobia, and build bridges within and beyond our communities. Our volunteers move the conversation forward about issues faced by the LGBT Sikh populace. We do this by increasing awareness, engaging in social media, and addressing homophobia. Our volunteers create and continually develop spaces where LGBT plus Sikhs meet each other and find support. Our volunteers develop and provide useful resources about the Sikh perspective on LGBT plus issues, not only for our community, but also beyond it. We have hosted hundreds of events over a decade, open to all, and created a space for LGBT Sikhs and allies to meet each other. Our online events during the pandemic has brought our volunteers and attendees close to each other and to better understand our faith. Our resources have been viewed or downloaded close to 1 million times, addressing same-sex relationships and faith. And I might want to ask you for a quick favor. So Sarbat has been nominated for Community Organization Award for LGBT as part of the British Asian Diversity Awards. And I'm going to share a link here for everyone to see. And please, if you found Sarbat helpful, please vote for us here, but I'll give a quick description. And Kulbir is going to share an event that is taking place that discusses therapy. It's happening tomorrow, and it's called Chai in the City. And you're more than welcome to ask him any questions. Now, finally, a question for everyone before we conclude today's event is, what is the number one lesson each of the panel wants us to take away from the film? So again, the question is, what is the number one lesson the panel wants us to take away from the film? And we'll start this time with Jaspal Antiji.
Only one sentence I say, please love your children as the children. Don't go for any further. Thank you.
Amar?
I will quickly say, I won't take long this time. I'll just quickly say, treat people how you want to be treated and love one another. And then that'll just make the world go around. And I just want to thank Sarbat. I want to thank Harv for organizing this. I want to thank Lux, who opened the doors for us with the UK Asian Film Festival, who's online listening. So thank you. But most importantly, I want to thank Vinay. I want to thank the Nagra family, Jag, Harv, their parents, Rajwant Auntie, your dad, Jag and Harv. Really, the film would have not happened if it wasn't for you. And I'm so grateful, eternally grateful. And I'm so thankful I have this opportunity to tell you all how grateful I am as the producer, as the founder of Share, because not only will this film have an impact for us within Share Vancouver and the work we're doing in Canada, it can help save lives and change social attitudes around the world. And thank you for the work you did, and thank you for the impact you're having.
Harv, you next.
Number one lesson, I think just that's a tough one. I'm going to change that question a bit so it's easier for me to answer. I hope more parents see this film is what I would like the impact to be, because I think we can find community with friends and groups and stuff like that, but I think it's our parents' generation that needs to be exposed a bit more. And before I just pass this on, just a huge thank you for all the friends that are attending the event today as well. Really appreciate your time for joining.
Jag and Rajwant Auntie ji.
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਸਾਰੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਮੈਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੀ ਆ, ਜੇ ਮੂਵੀ ਦੇਖਣ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ ਤੁਸੀਂ, ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਹਰਵ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ, ਆਪਣੇ ਪੇਰੈਂਟਸ ਨੂੰ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਜਾਓ। ਸਿਰਫ ਬੱਚੇ ਹੀ ਦੇਖ ਕੇ ਆਉਣ ਤਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਕੋਈ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਰਿਜ਼ਲਟ ਤਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਨਿਕਲਣਾ ਨਹੀਂ। ਬੱਚੇ ਰੋ ਕੇ ਆ ਜਾਣਗੇ, ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਹਾਰਟ ਬ੍ਰੋਕ ਹੋਏ ਆ ਉਹ ਉਦੋਂ ਵੀ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਰੋ ਕੇ ਆ ਜਾਣਗੇ। ਪਰ ਆਪਣੇ ਬੱਚੇ, ਆਪਣੇ ਪੇਰੈਂਟਸ ਨੂੰ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਜਾਓ, ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਭਾਵੇਂ ਉਹ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਗਏ, ਜੇ ਉੱਦਾਂ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ ਆਪਣੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਜਾਓ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ। ਮੂਵੀ ਬੱਚੇ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਜਾਣ ਆਪਣੇ ਪੇਰੈਂਟਸ ਨੂੰ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਐਜੂਕੇਟ ਕਰਨ, ਕਿ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੇ ਐਜੂਕੇਟ ਕੀਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ। ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਵੀ ਲੋਕ ਐਜੂਕੇਟ ਹੋਣ, ਲੋਕ ਇਸ ਗੱਲ ਤੋਂ ਡਰਨ ਨਾ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਸ ਬਾਰੇ ਵਿਸਪਰ ਹੀ ਕਰਨਾ, ਅਸੀਂ ਉੱਚੀ ਗੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ, ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਕੰਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੀ ਵਿਸਪਰ ਕਰਕੇ ਨਿਕਲ ਜਾਣਾ। ਇਹਦੇ ਨਾਲੋਂ ਸਾਰੀ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਨੌਲੇਜ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਆ, ਪੇਰੈਂਟਸ ਨੂੰ ਨੌਲੇਜ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਆ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਪਤਾ ਹੋਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਕਿ ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ, ਅਸੀਂ ਇਕੱਲੇ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ। ਮੈਨੂੰ ਏਦਾਂ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਇਕੱਲੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਹੀ ਆ, ਫਿਰ ਜਦੋਂ ਐਲੈਕਸ ਨੂੰ ਦੇਖਿਆ ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਹੌਸਲਾ ਹੋਇਆ ਕਿ ਇਕੱਲੀ ਮੇਰੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਐਲੈਕਸ ਹੈਗਾ। ਇਹਦੀ ਫਿਰ ਜੱਗੂ ਦੀ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕੀਤੀ, ਹਾਰਵ ਦੀ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਕੀਤੀ। ਫਿਰ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਏਦਾਂ ਲੱਗਾ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਇਕੱਲੀ ਥੋੜ੍ਹਾ ਵਾਂ, ਜਸਪਾਲ ਭੈਣ ਜੀ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ। ਏਦਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੀ ਹਾਂ ਵੀ ਹੋਰ ਸਾਰੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਟਰਾਈ ਕਰਨ, ਆਪਣੇ ਪੇਰੈਂਟਸ ਨੂੰ ਮੂਵੀ ਤੇ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਜਾਣ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਐਜੂਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੀ ਲੋੜ ਆ, ਕਿ ਉਹ ਏਦਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਬਈ ਉਹ ਡੰਮ ਆ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਐਜੂਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੀ ਲੋੜ ਆ। ਜਿਹੜੀ ਗੱਲ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਪੇਰੈਂਟਸ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਿਖਾਈ, ਉਹ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਸਿੱਖਣ, ਮੂਵੀ ਤੋਂ ਸਿੱਖਣ। ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਇਹੀ ਮੇਰੀ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਪ੍ਰੇ ਕਰਦੀ ਹਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ, ਰਿਕੁਐਸਟ ਕਰਦੀ ਹਾਂ। ਹਾਂਜੀ।
Thank you. Jag?
Yeah, I think for me, it kind of echoes what everyone's already said. This isn't so much a film for, you know, us queer folks. It's for our support networks, right? For the parents, for friends, to get a better understanding of what we go through. And hopefully one day we won't have to have these conversations. Hopefully like with my kids' generation, they're not going to have to come out, right? It's not going to be a big thing they're struggling with. So yeah, for me, it's just, you know, we're no different than other people. And I just want to thank everyone for being here. I want to thank my mom. She's quite under the weather right now, and she's being a true person and sitting here with us. So yeah, thanks for having us.
Excellent. Just before I move to Vinay, Harv has conveniently translated it. So as Rajwant said, ask your parents to watch the film. And as she says, no one educated us, and I want to normalize this conversation with South Asian parents. I felt alone when my kids came out. I want other parents not to feel alone either. So we move on to Vinay, finally.
Yeah, thank you for the space to have this conversation. I really appreciate all the work that Sarbat is doing, and I hope you win that award. And yeah, the message of emergence is very clear. It's one of like embracing your children who they are, as how they are, and then just to accept them. And then for a person, if somebody comes out to you as gay or queer, you just provide that listening space. You provide that, you know, you don't need to give that rejection. You have to be the one accepting whoever is coming out to you, and then just listening to them, providing that safe space. I think that's what the message is all about. And then one thing that Jag said in the film really resonated with me. When the parents, they love their children unconditionally up until the moment, and then suddenly they find out that the child is gay, and then it all changes, turned on its head. So she couldn't process it. It's really amazing that how people's perception can change in just 1 second. So yeah, hopefully that doesn't happen again, and hopefully more parents watch this film, and then there'll be more support network for people out there.
Excellent. So we come to the end of this event. Before, as I would ask you to visit sarbat.net to find out more about future events and share their personal reflections on this event today. And before I stop, there is a very kind of, there's a kirtan that comes into my mind a lot actually, and it goes like, Aval Allah noor upaya kudrat de sab bande, kaun bane kaun mande. So we all are we're all creation of the one above, and we are all meant to be part of this universe. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for being part of Sarbat event. Sat Sri Akal. Thanks for coming. This recording may be edited and will be available, and we'll terminate the recording now. And thanks for joining.